wrong decisions or wrong investment ventures are, you did not learn anything out of that. You may make money, but if you don't learn anything, baka chamba lang. You may have lost money, but if you don't, that's even worse. Personally, I don't know anybody who has 100% record. Okay? The thing is, do you learn? Because as we learn, we minimize that. We become more savvy, more educated. We develop that experience, that gut feel, that sometimes data don't show. Due diligence will not show. But we just feel that I feel good about this company, or I feel good about this startup, or I don't feel good about it. You cannot put your finger there. But because of your experiences, then you always grow in that. So the thing is, what investors should develop is the discipline for what I call a post-mortem. You have to go back and review and study. Debrief, if you have a team of investors, what went wrong and what went right.
We are in for another special treat today. I'm not sure if you remember from the previous podcast months ago, we had Willie Chua, who in my opinion is an amazing entrepreneur, business person, and all-around idol to everyone in this parang era of new normal. So welcome back to the podcast, Mr. Willie Chua. Hope you are good and well. How's the past 7 months for you?
I'm very well, and thank you for having me again. It's always a treat to see you and talk to you.
What has changed in the way you did your business, or in the way you conducted your day-to-day routine over the past 7 months also?
Well, the thing is, you may have to seriously consider throwing away all your so-called sacred cows. A lot of the things that the bedrock of how we do things should be reviewed. Most of us, we stick to the old and tested. But right now, there's no such thing as old and tested, because we are in uncharted territory. I think what is important is the substance of our business, the substance of our principles and the philosophy should remain the same, but the expression of it should change. We tend to be very structured in that. We have always been doing things like that. And unless we change, we will not and adapt, we will never be able to compete and survive.
I've seen over the past few months, what has shifted is everyone, not everyone, but majority has moved towards either e-commerce or anything related to the internet. And the ones that have not been connected to it, they're trying also their best to also pivot and shift towards that. My question is this: there are a lot of people also that their business still up until now, hindi mo siya magagawang online, especially those that are brick and mortar related, or the ones that because of the pandemic, there's physical contact, so it's harder for them to conduct business. What should be their pivot? What could they possibly do?
Well, before they start exploring, venturing into something new, is to adopt a fresh perspective of what they have in their hand, their products. For example, one of our companies is into manufacturing paper. Now, certain packaging grade may change, so you have to look at it and say that, now, how may I invent new way of using the same old products? Normally, when we talk about paper, we have very specific usage. But when we introduce it as something else, something that is ordinary will suddenly add on new values. And I guess that is what a lot of people has to do. If up to now, 7 months after the initial lockdown, you are still waiting for things to go back to normal, you may have already missed the boat. The thing is, after this experience, people will not forget it that quickly. So that will affect the consumer behavior, that will affect the investors' attitude, that will affect businessmen's situation, how they make decisions and how they make plans. Right now, I think they will eventually have to shrink back from a long-term, usually annual strategic plan. Right now, they should already know that there's no such thing as long-term or annual strategic plan. You just have to figure out what to do in a more short-term, maybe even month or week, and be able to flow with it, without losing, again, the substance, but the expression should change and be adaptable. For example, both of us, we are foodie or claim to be foodie. We like to eat food. But a lot of institutional restaurants may have closed shop. Things will never go back to normal because of the experience of people. I mean, when the consumer, they have lost loved ones due to this pandemic, it's going to affect their future consuming behavior. They would feel safer to cook at home or to order and just eat at home or go to more exclusive restaurant, not just the big ones, but really very exclusive, just to make sure that they are in a safer environment. But then one thing I noticed that during this pandemic, there are a lot, especially in Makati, a lot of mainland Chinese restaurants. I mean, there was no hiccup in their income whatsoever. As a matter of fact, it just went on. It just hastened the progress of their operations, because when they started, they relied more on takeouts. In fact, there were some hole-in-the-wall eateries in Makati. They have two tables. I mean, two tables. But then they had a fleet of bikers, riders trying to deliver. And so when this happened, they were not affected. Business as usual. They have not closed for any great length of time. But the conventional restaurants, they have difficulty. And some of them are slow to react. As a result, they eventually have to close shop because they were slow to react. They don't want to shrink their space. They don't want to. They're hoping that the customers will come back. It will be a long while. By long while, we're talking about years now.
Even us, before this pandemic, most of the time, because we were busy, we don't eat at home. But everything right now is either we cook it ourselves or we would order and then it's delivered. And for the past 7 months, probably we ate out, but not even more than 5 times. So it's a very, very few. I don't think it's just gonna be limited to the pandemic, because even after this pandemic, people will figure out that it's more convenient to order some of the items, or yung normal things that we do na may bibigay ka sa relative mo tapos you will drive all the way there and then you figure out if you just grab it, it's only 80 pesos, and then you save
That's
time,
right.
You save gas, you don't pay parking also. And
Yes.
I think those are the pivots that will still remain even after the pandemic. I have another question that and I've seen this as a relevant theme. There are a lot of people also, and you can chime in whatever your inputs are on this. There are a lot of people who bought properties or condominiums with the intention of having it rented out. And then some of them, their target were Chinese pogos who are little by little right now leaving or at least going. And then some naman bought it near the city kasi madaming office workers. And because of work from home, a lot of those people who were renting out in the city realized that I can actually stay back to my home place as long as the internet is good. Then I don't need anymore to rent. What do you think they could do? No, because some of them also they have amortizations to pay for it, or at least they need to support whatever they have for those particular units that they got. If you were in their situation, what would be your pivot also to somehow get rental income also from that?
That can be repackaged also, what they have, their investment. The usage can be expanded. For example, now people will probably think twice about checking into a hotel if because of the volume of human traffic. So when travel will resume some sort of normalcy, they will still prefer to rent all these smaller ones. And another thing is some companies may want to break apart like satellite offices. And so their condominium unit, depending on the policy of the building administration, may be packaged as, you know, a micro or a satellite office wherein they will just be hooked up via cyberspace. So that way, maintaining one big place, they're beginning to realize that there are some disadvantages. For example, the infection, the contamination, because everybody, they decided that they realized that it's a lot safer now to kind of separate the risk, just divide it, you know, into small clusters. Investment that is geared toward catering to the POGO is actually a bubbles. I've always maintained that when it was so popular, I said things doesn't add up, no, and we are relying on something that is beyond our control. If there will be a change in our intergovernment policies, and let's say China got upset with us and pulled out all their people, overnight you have a problem. And a lot of them, if you are investing in a condominium for your eventual retirement, it's okay for your own use. But if you intend to make a business out of that, then you need to collaborate with other people so that there is more way to package yourself. It's so complex and complicated, no? It involves diplomatic sensitivities and things like that. And so we have overextended, really. Our remittances will go down. A lot of people our OFW may have lost their income or at least minimized, and suddenly everybody realizes that there could be surprises along the way. And so they are not willing to just put all their marbles in one basket. They prefer to be liquid. And so that will influence their investment behavior. And if that happens, then of course people would want to have some fallback, some sort of fallback. It's not gung-ho, it's not all out. This is something that will take a while for people to be relaxed again.
When do you pull the plug, or when do you still realize that it's still worth fighting for, that you use your own personal money first so that para mabayaran yung amortization kahit wala ng client na pumapasok?
Assuming that lumabas distributed ng vaccine next week, people has a mental hurdle to overcome. They will be gun shy, and it will take them a while to just go back because they got burned. Just like during the Great Depression, that generation was forever affected. After that, they become very frugal because they have experienced that. So same thing, adventurism will be toned down in terms of investment. If they have not yet unloaded, medyo a bit late na, no? Right now. Kasi right now, this may hit not rock bottom yet. I believe it may continue to go. There might be some hiccups here and there, but the trend will probably be continues on a downward spiral before it bounces back. And the thing is, there is no best time. It is your decisiveness. But the earlier you make the decision, the better. Because then you free up your investment to do something else. But while you are tied down to your investment, in hope that it will go cheaper or it will increase in value, that margin of loss or margin of profits may not be worth the while. Sometimes we want to sell at the lowest and buy at the lowest and sell at the highest. If we are that adamant, we increase the chances of losing. So again, it's basically being decisive and knowing that what is my goal? What is my objective in this investment? Is this long-term or not?
I've seen so many people that when times were good, they would always go all out on the offensive. Okay, I'll buy 3 other condos because everything is good, not knowing that there's a possibility also that income might be lost. That's why I like what we talked about in the first video, that cash is so important, being liquid is so important because it will allow you to stand in times like this. being in the business field for, I don't know, 30, 40 plus years, or 30 plus, 40 plus years already, you've seen different crises already, from the ones that we had in the 80s, which were totally different from what we have right now than the ones we had in the 90s. In terms of recovery, how different do you think this will be as compared to the different crises that we had before? Do you think this will drag on, or right after the cure, things will relatively be faster also? What's your insight on this?
This will alter the investors and the consumers' behavior long term. Now, maybe they will correct that along the way, but it will be a process. So the difference between this current situation compared to past crisis is that this one has a lot of unprecedented things, no? Like the lockdown of not only economy, we're talking about individual movement. Our movements are restricted, being locked down. So that changes. But the good thing also is that we have the technology, we have the internet, so we can still go on monitoring the market, do some investments. Right now, really, in March, we talk about having cash is the best. Now, buying is the best. This is the time to buy. When everybody, again, do not wait until it is the lowest. It might continue to fall for a while, or there might be hiccups, but then overall the trend will still go up. But if you have some spare cash, this will be a good time to buy. I remember in 2008, during the global financial crisis, China announced that they had 200 plus new billionaires.
Whoa.
And we are talking about in US dollars. And when you check, I forgot, I read a Chinese article somewhere, and there was a study that said almost all of them did not have college degree. In other words, they were street smart. They were more of spontaneous and decisive. They go on gut feel. They did not have a set of philosophy or dogmas to stick on. And so that freed them up to be adaptable, to look at the situation and just invest based on, and while everybody's going out, they're rushing in. And they understood, they look far enough, they were not too myopic. They look far enough to say that, hey, everything that it cannot be forever. But they were in a position to exploit that crisis because they are liquid. So that's why I said that if some investors who sold even at a loss earlier, right now at least they're sitting on their cash. They are ready now to buy, and they will probably recover what they have lost and some more.
I like what you said. No, March was a time to be in cash, but now is the time to buy.
Go bargain hunting. Go bargain hunting.
As someone in the business landscape for quite some time, how do you do it? How do you convince yourself that it's so scary? I don't know what my cash flow will be 18 months from now, and yes. But I know already historically that it's everything's cheap right now. What do you do? How do you convince yourself?
The elements of risk will always be involved. If we are talking about a risk-free, this is not a science, no. Well, it is some sort of a science. It is also more of an art, no. There's no. In fact, that's what makes investment exciting. It is the element of risk, and you get to find out either the hard way or the fun way that. You read the market correctly. You read the trend correctly. You read the behavior of the people correctly. So there are several elements here, not just what we see, the objective one, more of the subjective one, human behavior. Human behavior is very hard to measure. You know, fear is very irrational. And unless we understand that, we want to reduce it to distill it into an exact science. You basically suck some fun, all the fun out of investment, no? But so there's some elements. Just spread your risk. Do not put all your marbles in one basket, even no matter how sure you feel. I'm sure that's what a lot of investors learned the hard way late last year, when they were all expecting so much for year 2020, and they just borrowed just to invest. Then they realized that something unthinkable happened. And I think that's why this will always be shared. So again, learn to live and accept risk as part of life's reality nowadays. Don't get too greedy and be decisive in your investment. Occasionally you might lose. Don't panic, especially in stock market. If you are investing for the long term, just hang in there. Just hang in there. If not, be decisive, cut your losses, get out, and then just wait for an opportune time to go in to buy. So, but again, it's sometimes we drag our decision-making process. Indecision is worse than wrong decision, because you miss timing. You may have made wrong decision, but you can recoup if you do it fast enough. But if you just hang in there, again, the situation you hope will happen may never happen. And by the time you realize that might be a bit too late.
There's still a lot of people also right now that what's keeping them also from trying is they're a bit scared about losing and not and kunyari, you place this much money, they don't want to see it dwindle down. Was there an experience in your life that you would want to share that you actually lost money from it also, that it was not the end of it all also? Because people always think that when I make a wrong decision in my investments, it's the end of me.
Really, there's no such thing for me personally as a wrong decision. If you always extract lessons from that and experiences from that. Wrong decisions or wrong investment ventures are, you did not learn anything out of that. You may make money, but if you don't learn anything, baka chamba lang. You may have lost money, but if you don't, that's even worse. Personally, I don't know anybody who has 100% record. Okay? The thing is, do you learn? Because as we learn, we minimize that. We become more savvy, more educated. We develop that experience, that gut feel, that sometimes data don't show. Due diligence will not show. But we just feel that I feel good about this company, or I feel good about this startup, or I don't feel good about it. You cannot put your finger there. But because of your experiences, then you always grow in that. So the thing is, what investors should develop is the discipline for what I call a post-mortem. You have to go back and review and study. Debrief, if you have a team of investors, what went wrong and what went right. Some people may go over that, do an analysis, post-mortem analysis when there was a disaster. But their biggest mistake is not doing that when they have a big success, because you want to keep making that success a regular thing. So you have to find out what went right, not only what went wrong, so that then when we spot certain characteristics similar to those trends that we had before, you know that these are good indicators. While it's still risky, but I can make calculated risk, take a calculated risk on that, and it will actually be minimized. So again, my early years, I was paying tuition. That is what I have to tell myself. I was losing money left and right, so I have to tell myself that, hey, this is just tuition. It would be worth all the losses if you learn from your mistakes. And you just learn from it. It doesn't have to be our failure. It can be somebody else's failure. But try to tear it apart. Study also the behavior of those who succeeded and those who failed. A lot of them are very cool. They are not emotional. They rely on gut feel, but they are not emotional. Wherein, everybody, and then don't be afraid to be the odd person out in the investment circle. While everybody's going out, don't just follow the crowd. Maybe you might be seeing some things that they have missed. Or if you just follow them, and you may have missed some opportunity also. So the thing is, look at it for yourself. Study all the analysis, everything, but at the end of the day, you make your decision based on your own analysis of all this data that you have gathered, all these studies you have gathered, all these reports that you have gathered. Then you hear both sides out and make that decision yourself. I believe that as you maintain that, you will increase in your accuracy.
I was interviewing someone who was probably 15 years younger than me, early 20s, and sabi niya, a majority of people their age right now are so anxious about the future. They're scared. They don't know what to do. Some of them, fresh grads also, no one's hiring them right now. Any words of encouragement naman for that group of people?
I have a very good friend who is a billionaire. He started out, this is, of course, he's much older than me, but when he started out, he could not land a job. So I like what he said, since nobody wanted to hire me, I hired myself. It was out of desperation. But then he decided to launch out on his own, a small mom and pop operations. Today, he's a major brand, and he's raking in a lot of money and advising a lot of people. So the thing is, nobody says that when you're fresh out of school, you have to take a 9-to-5 job or something. Now, if you can, that's a good way because you get paid to gain experience. But in case there are no opportunity right now, we live in the world with so much accessibility that previous generations don't have. And the younger investors, they are more savvy when it comes to technology. So they are actually better equipped. Now, the reason why they are anxious is more of inexperience. But when you have been around for quite some time and you have seen the ups and downs, kind of no big deal. You know that this will pass also. And then you just learn, and then again, dig in, draw out from past experiences, past observations, and be able to manage the situation that you are confronted with right now. So the thing is, don't allow fear to paralyze you. Just observe and do what you feel that should be done. Just learn as much as you can. Like during this seven months, I have taken so many courses, all sorts of things, probably close to 20 courses, and I continue to, because I have to equip. If I remain the same 7 months after the lockdown, then in March, I miss a great opportunity. If my market outlook and my investment behavior has not changed the past 7 months, I have missed this opportunity.
Wow.
So again, don't be afraid to move out of your comfort zone. Just learn from it. Learn from mistakes, learn from good experiences, learn from other people. The thing is, what we can derive lessons from is the here and now. Unlike before, you read from the past. A few decades ago, the Great Depression, we are facing a completely new animal right now. And so, the lessons that we can learn from are what is happening this year. You don't need to go far, just this year. You just go around, look around other countries, other sectors, and you can learn how some of them cope, how some of them institutions suddenly are no more. But how some of them, because they got into the market at the right time, like Zoom, for example. Who would have known that I'm sure the owner would also have no idea that it's not because he's good. Maybe the timing was just right, and a crisis in the market actually became an opportunity for him. Not everybody has a year like this in their lifetime, and we are fortunate to be blessed with such a year. People just don't look at it that way because so many things are disrupted. But actually, this is a year of new beginnings. You learn a lot of things that are so set right now. It's opportunity. It opens up. It creates new opportunity for you to introduce new way of doing things. And I believe, I honestly believe that a lot of future tycoons will look back to this year and say that this is the year.